Hello everyone and welcome to the Team News Reaction Show here at Redmen TV. For those of you watching on Twitter, jump on over to our YouTube channel and join us for that show and the remainder of the shows this afternoon. I'm joined for the watch along and the Team News Reaction Show by Dan Clubb. How are we, Dan? How are you feeling?
Yeah, mate, I'm all good. Looking forward to it as ever. Absolutely no reasons to be nervous going into this one, have we? It's all plain sailing for the Reds, are you?
Might be for you, mate. I'm bricking it, I can tell you. Dan, any thoughts on what you think might be the team and a little bit of tactical awareness around that team, please?
On the team, I mean, his hand's pretty much been dealt to him, hasn't it, on this one? I think with a fully fit squad, he could have been sort of creative and he might have been able to do what he wanted, basically. We've seen the 4-2-3-1, obviously, in recent weeks, and I think he'd like to stick to that if he possibly could. But at the same time, with injuries, and we're hearing about a couple of more injuries as well, perhaps, to key members of the squad, it's hard for him. So I think he's going to see a needs-must team, really, as opposed to the one he'd really want to put out there.
So I think 4-3-3 is quite safe.
Yeah.
We usually do that to restrict the opposition opportunities. Is this a game where we can't afford to play that way? Is this a game where you want to see us play on the front foot?
Ideally, we'd play on the front foot, of course. Ideally, we'd always play on the front foot. Like, this Liverpool side has become notorious for doing so, and it's won trophies. It's been successful doing so, even against Man City. We've seen in the FA Cup last year, we've seen in the league meetings that we do have joy against them. And obviously in the Community Shield as well earlier this season. But at the same time, this Liverpool team isn't one that's brimming with confidence right now. It's one that, despite the midweek win, is really struggling to find any sort of resemblance of what they are. And like I said earlier on, I think the injuries make it really difficult. Like, we don't know the confirmed team yet, but the rumours are that there's going to be a couple of players obviously missing from midweek and stuff from the squad at least. And it's hard for Klopp, man. It's really difficult because not only are we struggling for form, but when you are struggling for form, you need your best players available because you just got to go again and go again. And he's not able to do that because, like I say, big player missing. And it's going to be a bit square pegs and round holes by the looks of it, isn't it? In certain positions anyway.
Totally, and you're right, you do need your best players. Just a quick one from Scott T in the Discord group says with a 4-2-3-1 we could see Fabinho drop to centre-back. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's something I alluded to actually this week when I heard the news yesterday about Konate potentially being missing, which we don't exactly know yet, but it does certainly look that way. I sort of muted the idea of Fabinho going to centre-back. It's something he did a lot in the season when we lost all the centre-backs, obviously. And obviously he also played at right-back, which could see Joe Gomez move into centre-half, which would be a different way of addressing the issue, basically. Because Fabinho hasn't played right-back for us, but he did it a lot for Monaco. Like, that was his position, moreover, for Monaco a lot of the time. So there is scope for Klopp to move things around there. The other alternative is that he doesn't do any of that and he just goes, there you go, James Milner, go and fill that gap. That meme where he just slaps James Milner onto like a leaking tub. He could easily just do that again. But it's a huge game. I think we all know Liverpool aren't necessarily in a title race right now. I'm not sure today changes that. What today can do, from my point of view, though, Steve, is it can cement the fact we are still a force to be reckoned with in this league. And top four, which at the minute looks a little bit out of reach, is still possible. Even though today we are hamstrung by injury problems, if we can get a result today against this potentially all-conquering Man City side, it just shows that we are still there or thereabouts.
100%. And would it be fair to say that we need all of our big players today to stand up, be counted for, win their personal battles? You talk about hitting some form to get back into a top four race. I completely agree with you that this is the game to do it. It wouldn't be right to have this show right now, not talk about the opposition. What are you expecting from Manchester City today?
I mean, much of a muchness from them, really. They're not going to, even though Pep Guardiola give it his whole mind games of Liverpool's the biggest test in England right now spiel earlier in the week, I don't expect City to have any special plans for us necessarily. I think they'll come, they look to steamroller teams, don't they? They've been doing it pretty much all year, bar a couple of results that are a little bit out of the ordinary from them. But yeah, I think they'll come to us, they'll look to be dominant, look to play on the front foot. For them, it's a big deal, this, and I do get it because obviously we have gone toe-to-toe with them for so long. And they see coming to Anfield as like a bit of a hoodoo, despite the season with no fans, which is a bit of a myth. Generally speaking, in my point of view, like we're 5.5 years now, I think it is, without losing at Anfield in front of a crowd, and City will know that, and our rivals will know that as well. And City will come to us today, and they'll be like, Guardiola, a special thing. If we can get this over the line, not only is it a big battle for them this season, but moving forward, if Liverpool do come again next year, for instance, like we're all hoping and expecting, City will have that over us then. They'll have beat us at Anfield in front of a crowd. So it's a big deal. But yeah, I don't see them changing anything. I think they'll come all guns blazing. It'll be Haaland, it'll be Foden, it'll be Mahrez, all the usual pretenders. And they'll try and just hammer us. They won't try and stifle us. Why would they? We're miles off where we should be compared to them. So yeah.
Just sticking with Guardiola, he's done the usual media games in the last 24 hours and has said that he thinks Liverpool are still the greatest rivals for the title race. Is that mind games, or is that not trying to motivate his team? Thoughts on that?
I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, me too.
Quite frankly, I mean, feel free in the chats, the Discord, the YouTube to disagree with me on that, but I'm sure there won't be many. And if you are watching on YouTube, do remember to subscribe, because we are tantalisingly close to 500,000. It should happen today in this show, in the next show, the watch along. Me and Steve will be here, which I'm sure is the way that Paul and Chris envisaged it all them years ago. They'd have two newbies in the building hosting the watch along when they got to 500,000. But we'll be here to celebrate that landmark when it does happen. 90 short we are. So if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. But yeah, Guardiola on Liverpool, like I say, it's just his usual mind games. I don't buy into it. I don't believe it. The thing is, I think the reason he's saying it might be because I don't think he believes that Arsenal or Tottenham are title rivals. I think that's his point. Because as good as they both are, and they are two very good sides right now, they're playing better than Liverpool right now, there's no getting away from that. I don't envisage them two going toe-to-toe with City. Because to do so, you've got to win such an amount of football games, often back-to-back, because that's what City do. I'm not sure if any of them two squads have got the mettle for it. We have in the past, we've done it. So he's probably thinking now, Guardiola, even though the gap's so big already, he's probably thinking, I know what these are capable of. I know what Jurgen Klopp and that squad can do. So in the back of his mind, he's still probably thinking, the only team in this league who can challenge me and my side is still Liverpool. Because he knows, almost subconsciously, that Arsenal are going to drop off and Tottenham are going to drop off, as good as they are right now. And I agree with him. I think they will drop off, and there's still a chance. Second's still up for grabs, in my opinion. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, we're miles off it at the minute. Like, our form doesn't dictate that we're going to finish second at all. But if you told me now that Liverpool finish second in this season, I wouldn't be that surprised, because I just think the consistency levels required to do it, we've shown, and no one else has, is the point.
I agree. So for me, there's two teams in this league that can go and win 15 or 20 games in a row. And history has proven that be Liverpool and Manchester City. If we're going to get to second place, we might need to do that. I don't think any of us would disagree at the moment. On current form, we're probably not looking like a team that could do that. Going back to today's game, Dan, looking at the what we think the teams might be. Where's it won and lost? Where do Liverpool need to win the game today?
Do you know what? It's such an easy answer. But it is the answer. It's in the midfield. Like, City's midfield is so incredible. Like, it's full of individual stars, and they're operating so well as a unit, which is what we haven't done at all this season. Like, man for man, our midfield against City's for a long time has been probably below theirs in terms of individual level. I don't think I'm doing anyone a massive disservice in saying that. But what we've done to sort of counterbalance that is worked well as a unit, and it's every single part just clicked together, especially when your Wijnaldums were in it, and we had the number one midfield, you know what I mean? But now, ours just looks dysfunctional. It looks off the pace. It looks short. And when you come up against a side like Man City, we've seen it a little bit against Arsenal. It got bypassed a little bit against them. Well, this is an acid test up again from that. This is next level midfield we're coming up against today. So it is in there. And I think we've lost or drew a lot of our games this season on the back of poor midfield displays. So it's not lost on me, and it's so obvious that today we have to be better in that department. Otherwise, City will run ragged. And not only that, so many of Haaland's goals, City, is down to their midfield. Like, it's down to how good their midfield. Like, he's not having to do a lot for a lot of these goals. The service is that good. So if we're going to stop that service to stop Haaland scoring, that's crucial.
So last Sunday we went to Arsenal. Chelsea have scored again.
Yeah,
we went to Arsenal,
Chelsea,
and we lost by the odd goal in 5. There were some things there that were some encouraging signs,
yeah,
and some not so. Midweek we travelled north of the border to Glasgow, and once again found ourselves a goal down very early on, which is a theme, certainly of the last 6 months. Obviously we responded really well to that. We scored 7 goals in total, 5 of them coming in the last 20 minutes. How much did we play to that in today's. How much will that scoreline and that last 20 minutes factor into the minds of the players for today?
Well, hopefully a hell of a lot. We've seen a lot of false dawns already this season, haven't we? Like the Bournemouth game, and then we beat Rangers in midweek, we beat Ajax late on, and even the Newcastle game you could bring into that category. So we have had a lot of false dawns where you think, all right, we've turned the corner now. Here we go. We're going to see the real Liverpool. And I'm still optimistic. I'm ever the optimist that every time I come in this studio or outside and to watch a Liverpool game, you think, oh, it's all right, we're going to turn the corner now. Here we go. This is what we know. And I still think that today. I still think we're capable of putting on a performance that gets a result. Whether I say win the game, I'm not quite sure, but gets a result, certainly. So, yeah, I think when you look on a 7-goal performance in Europe away from home, no matter who the opposition, has to fill you with confidence. Yeah. You've got Mohamed Salah getting a hat-trick. Firmino's on fire. And Klopp alluded to it in his post-match press conference as well. He said it was almost like the perfect result because you don't just go and win in Europe, which is crucial. You get one foot into the knockout phase as well. But also, the last half an hour, you just go nuts and you remember who you are a little bit. Because that's what we've done to teams in the past when we've been brilliant. We've just blown them away. So to see that again should hopefully fill the players with confidence because there's no two ways about it. That's been lacking. As much as we talk tactics, the midfield, etc., etc., they've looked short on confidence, haven't they?
Yeah, we haven't seen the real Liverpool team this season. It's been lacking in confidence, lacking in a little bit of intensity. I'm going to put you on the spot now, Dan, with a question regards the opposition. Obviously, John Stones is missing and Kyle Walker's missing. Who do you expect to see? We talk about our own back four, but who do you expect to see in City's back four? Yeah,
that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. It's not. He's got options there, hasn't he? I think. So they got no Stones, obviously no Walker. He could shift João Cancelo over to the right, which was his natural position, wasn't it, when he was signed, really? But he's so good at left back now. What would he do in the left end? Would he be Aki or Gomez? Gomez he got sent off.
Is it too big a game for Gomez?
Well, we've seen him do this before with Angelino, haven't we, at Anfield? Yeah. And he got torn apart.
As did Zinchenko.
In the past, yeah. So it's a difficult one for him, and he has got a conundrum, which I'm really thankful for, to be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure what he'll do with his full-backs, but we know they'll still be strong. We know that much, and like I say, I'm not sure he'll be a midfielder in there. He might just go Cancelo, and he might risk Gomez, because I think he's been quite impressed with Gomez in the early stages. Yeah. Gets sent off in midweek, I know, which might give him a little bit of a knock. And if it is Gomez, left-back, then it should give Mohamed Salah a little bit of incentive as well, because like I say, we've seen what he did to Angelino in the past at Anfield, with all the factors that play that Anfield can bring. It's definitely an area where Liverpool can gain a little bit of confidence going into this, because we know City, in pretty much every department, are superior to us at the minute, the way they're playing compared to us. There's no argument with that, really. But if they do have to sort of field a makeshift side at the back there, then it might just give us that little... Because our best form of defence at the minute seems to be attack. So we may as well go for the throat in that respect.
Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to give you the keys to the dressing room. Given the bodies that we think we know are missing, give me an 11 and a formation for the game today for Liverpool.
So my 11 would be... I'd be going Alisson goal, obviously. I wouldn't be going James Milner at right back, personally. We're going to see in a minute exactly what he has done, of course, but I wouldn't be going Milner. I'd go Fabinho at right back. I'd take the same formation for the 4-2-3-1. I'd go Fabinho at right back. I'd go Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk in the centre half. I'd go Robertson left back, Thiago and Henderson in the pivot. And then I'd be probably Salah from the right-hand side of it, Firmino in behind, Jota from the left, and Darwin Núñez up front.
Yeah, I find it difficult to disagree with anything you've just said. The Milner thing at right back does worry me, because it's likely to be Phil Foden over there, and Phil Foden's got plenty of ability, and in previous games has caused Milner problems. He should have been sent off.
This game last year.
Yeah, this game last year when I think Henderson saved him by making it sort of a double foul, if you like.
Yeah.
Thoughts on City's lineup today? What do you expect to see from them in terms of their front three? Because that's pivotal to them, isn't it? Will it be Mahrez?
I think it'll be Mahrez. Yeah, I think it'll be Mahrez. I think it'll be Mahrez, Haaland and Foden. I don't envisage... That's what I've got in my mind from their perspective. I don't think they'll do anything different. He is prone to making mad decisions, isn't he, Guardiola? But I don't envisage that today. I think it'll be like Cole Palmer, and I can't see him do anything crazy like that. You know what I mean? I just think it'll be... as you expect. I don't think Grealish starts. I'm very surprised. And the days of Raheem Sterling coming back to Liverpool as a City player are done, of course. So
yeah, he's done well against us as well, hasn't he? In the past,
not bad.
He's played quite well against us.
Yeah, team's out. If Steve, you want to head over to the board, sure. I will shout out that team. So, it's not what I said, let's put it that way.
Okay.
You good?
Good, let's go.
So what have we got to change there? Let me just think. So Alisson in goal, obviously, yeah. You've got Milner at right back, that's fine. Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. Andrew Robertson. A midfield of Thiago and Fabinho. And then Harvey Elliott, Diogo Jota, Roberto Firmino in behind Salah.
Okay, so we through rumours and what have you, got the first 11 quite right. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a strong team. It's not what I'd have done with a right back, like I say. I do get why he's gone for Milner. Milner's obviously captain in this side as well with no Henderson.
Yeah.
I do understand that call. It's experience. He's got a lot of know-how in these sort of occasions, but I thought the days of seeing James Milner at right back particularly against a side like Manchester City, I thought that was done. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate that Calvin Ramsey's quite clearly not ready. He might have been given a chance today. Trent Alexander-Arnold is on the bench, though, I must say that.
Just do the subs for me, Dan.
I'll do the subs now. So Kelleher, Jordan Henderson, Curtis Jones, Kostas Tsimikas, Darwin Núñez, Fabio Carvalho, Sevan Bajcetic, Nat Phillips and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Okay, we'll put that. So we got all but one right on the subs. Ox didn't make it to the subs bench. Dan, while I'm here, I just want to talk to you about this guy here. Harvey Elliott coming into that midfield three, the three that plays behind the one. It would appear to me, based on this performance, this team setup, the right-hand side where the big calls are made. First of all with James Milner and then with Harvey Elliott. How do you feel about that? Because that's not really something we've seen too often, and that's a specific strength of City's on the left-hand side.
Yeah, they're huge calls, aren't they? And I imagine, Fabinho does play the right of the two. He's going to have a lot of work on there. He isn't something that's really sort of suited him this season. When he's been asked to do a lot of hard work, he hasn't really succeeded at it, has he, quite frankly? He's struggled. He looks a little bit leggy this year. So it is a concern. Harvey Elliott's modus operandi is to attack, isn't it? And it's to get the ball down and play. He doesn't want to be doing all that defensive work. We've seen that already this season, trying to cover Trent on occasion. So yeah, the right-hand side is a little bit all guns blazing. It is a weakness. I imagine James Milner is going to be very reserved in his attacking. He's not going to want to get forward because he knows if he gets forward too far and gets caught out, it's a long way back for him chasing Phil Foden.
So are we expecting these three here to be pivotal to what we do going forward?
I think that's the creators. I think they're the creators here. Just because, like I say, listen, Harvey Elliott is going to want to get the ball down. He's going to want to play. I've already said that. Sure. So when we get to him, he'll be the one. But I think Fabinho and Milner are going to have to be very regimented in what they do. Because I don't think either of them can afford to be too gung-ho. Because if they get caught out, big trouble. Whereas on the other side, if Thiago wants to be creative, and as does Jota and Andy Robertson, all three of them have got it within themselves to cover for one another, so I don't see that as being as much of an issue. So you're right, I think a lot of Liverpool's play might have to come down the left this time, which isn't like what we normally see either.
No, and what was interesting against Rangers is Jota got himself in some really good positions, often beating their left back with a bit of skill, and he's quicker than he looks. So that's your 11 Reds. Just before we go, one final sort of topic to speak about, the central defensive partnership. Yep. I'm not worried about Gomez and Van Dijk being reunited because we know what they accomplished. Thoughts on that, Dan, and anything that the viewers have got to say?
No, so yeah, people in the Discord are just saying it might. Well, someone said Scott T thinks it could still be the 4-2-3-1. But people are suggesting it could be a 4-3-3. How would you envisage that would look, see, just quickly? Because obviously,
if it's a 4-3-3, the natural thing to do is that, and then do that.
Yeah, which is a very easy switch.
Which would worry me, if I'm honest with you, because we tried this in a 4-3-3 against
just to say,
Everton.
It would be Firmino and Salah, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Switched.
Fair enough. Yeah. The 4-3-3 it'd be that. That would worry me because we tried him in a 3 against Everton and he didn't get into the game, and then we even went to a point where he played in a double pivot. I see it as what we think it is, Dan. I think we see it as this. That's how I think we approach this game. We can't sit back and allow Manchester City to do what Manchester City do, because history tells us that they steamroll the teams and they win games comfortably. This isn't a have what you hold team. This shows some attacking intent, and I'm here for that. Are you?
Yeah, I am. I am. I do. I've been, ever since we went to this 4-2-3-1, when we went to Arsenal, for instance, I was in the camp of maybe Klopp does just play it safe and go 4-3-3 because it's what we know. It's been ingrained into us for so long. And I do wonder whether he's thought a couple more injuries to add to that list today with Konate being out, and he's got Milner in at right back, stuff he doesn't want to do. Basically, yep. I wonder whether there is scope to say that this could be a 4-3-3 today, because he does just go, we know that this is what we've done for years. Maybe make us that a little bit more compact, a little bit more solid, and allow Elliott to be the one of a little bit more of a free roam in the midfield. And it's going to be really fascinating to see which way he does play it.
So potentially during the game we could actually do this, couldn't we? We could go 4-2-4 depending on what's happening. With the players that we've selected, we've got loads of opportunity to rotate that shape. So don't be surprised, my view is, don't be surprised during the game that those two guys remain as your double pivot and we go 4-2-4 at some point. I suspect you'd see this if we were chasing the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there is definitely scope to do certain things with that formation. There's no ways about it. And we could have been right in the first instance. It could well be the 4-2-3-1. I imagine Salah will be the focal point of that if it is the case. But yeah, it's definitely going to be fascinating to see which way it works out. Just try and grab the City team as well if you want to come back over and we can discuss that. Sure. See how they're looking as well. But yeah, no, it's a really interesting one. So how do you think we're going to approach that then? Because if it is 4-2-3-1, it's definitely it's a gung-ho move from Klopp to say, no, this is us now. Because I spoke to Neil Jones earlier this week about that, and I said, do you think he will revert to type and go 4-3-3, or do you think this is him sort of laying his cards on the table? So where do you think, if it is 4-2-3-1, do you think it's aggressive?
It is, and I don't think our season's defined by what happens at the end of the game tonight. You know, this is a long race for Champions League race for Liverpool now. It won't be decided on the back of one fixture this afternoon. It is gutsy. It is on the front foot football. And I think if you look back and analyse recent weeks' shows, and we've all sat and discussed the performances, none of us would say we're particularly great defensively at the moment. No. So I can see the sense in not lining up in a particularly defensive formation. So I like this. I like Liverpool to ask questions of opposition. I'm a massive advocate of don't sit back and let Manchester City do their thing. Yeah. When you're brave against City, Champions League final against Chelsea, Leeds game against them with 10 men, times that we've done it, you get opportunities to get at their back four. They've got a back four without John Stones, without Kyle Walker, that includes Nathan Ake and Akanji, who are not really a settled back four for Manchester City. So we're having these conversations about our back four and our midfield. Yeah. I'll guarantee you there's a fan show somewhere with Manchester City having the same conversations about their back four. Yeah,
100%. You mentioned City's lineup there. So it is, they've got Ederson in goal. Akanji, as you mentioned, looks like he's playing as the right back nominally. Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, João Cancelo, Rodri, De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden. And then bench-wise, a load of names: Jack Grealish, Julian Alvarez, Gomez that we spoke about before, and Aymeric Laporte. Laporte could have easily gone in at left-back.
Yeah, he could. Is he not coming back from an injury?
He is back from injury. That might well be the reason he hasn't done yet, but he could have gone in at left-back, couldn't he? They could have gone Cancelo to his previously natural position at right back, couldn't
he?
He
might be similar to Trent. Trent's on our bench, but if we don't need to use Trent, we won't, will we?
That is very, very true. Just to finish, just the last few things before we finish then, Steve. So yeah, it is a gutsy move from Klopp if it is the 4-2-3-1. It remains to be seen what he does do. Where do you think the key battle that you asked me earlier, midfield, is quite clearly, if it is just a two in midfield, how much help are those two going to need in there?
Mate, this is it. Fabinho's got massive responsibility today, because whilst we know Thiago plays well as a deep line midfielder, he's done it at Barcelona and he's done it at Bayern Munich, and he's done it for us in the season when we had the two young boys at centre-back. Fabinho's got a big job on today, because there will be runners from midfield all over the place. And I think you're quite right when you referenced James Milner's role earlier as being a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit sitting in a little bit, and staying close to Gomez so that we can hopefully lock down our right-hand side, their left-hand side. I think those two in the middle of the park, they've got massive responsibility. I'm looking at this thinking, how do we control the game? Do we have enough time on the ball to control the ball with the game? Are we good enough to control the game by denying Manchester City the spaces to play in?
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see how that pans out. And the honest answer is I don't know how we do that. But this is a great side in terms of attack and intent. Bobby's in form. Mo's got a hat-trick under his wing from this week. Harvey Elliott's playing well, and Diogo Jota's always likely to get you opportunities. So let's hope Liverpool can offer something going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the problem we've got now is obviously we're sort of debating how the formation's going to look, because there are different options there, and because Klopp's obviously thrown that curveball recently in terms of the change of style, it's impossible to know. Like a month ago, if you'd have given me them 11 players, I'd have given you a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now we're just not quite sure, because he has seen something different, and it is Man City, so it throws that extra element in, doesn't it? Because it's Man City and because they're so good and we're off it, we're not quite sure how we're going to line up. So the first few minutes of the game will actually be really interesting, and we'll check from the TV graphics and your stats graphics as well, just to see if they've got any inclination. Sure. Just to say as well, some other Premier League games going on. Chelsea are currently beating Aston Villa 2-0. Arsenal are 1-0 up against Leeds at half-time. They had some technical difficulties there. Manchester United are in the last 10 minutes against Newcastle, and it's 0-0, which isn't funny yet, I promise you. Southampton, it's not funny for us actually, but anyway. Southampton are 1-1 against West Ham United. Just one more thing, Steve, I wanted to ask you about before we head off. Mohamed Salah could well be the focal point of that side. A lot of people have been crying out to get him more centrally recently. I'm not one of them, if I'm brutally honest, because I think he's brilliant. He's a genius. He's been brilliant and a genius from that right wing role for a long time for us. Where are you on that? Do you think it's crucial that we get him more centrally? Do you think he's been lacking this season because he's been too wide? I mean, if he does play that sort of 9 role today, as it is, do you think that's a good call?
He needs to be involved in the game. I think in recent weeks we've seen him isolated out in the wings, particularly when we played Darwin Núñez, because as a channel we've spoken much about the adjustment to having Darwin Núñez, an orthodox number 9 who likes to isolate central backs. So in terms of Salah, we've been crying out to get him more involved in the game. His numbers over the last 5 years warrant that, don't they? Let's be honest. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity to get him through the middle. Mm-hmm. I still think you can get it, as we saw in the Champions League, you can get at Ruben Diaz if you one-on-one him, you isolate him in the same way that Núñez did, although it will be different. It won't be a physical domination of him. It will be more about movement and pace and all the things that Salah offers you. I don't want to see him out getting, to coin an old cliched phrase, I don't want to see him getting whitewash on his boots. I need to see him involved in the game. So through the centre, we'll see how it goes. Looking at the bench there, we've got options. Núñez is on the bench. Henderson's on the bench if we need to change the shape of the midfield. Curtis Jones is on the bench. So there are options to change it there at some point. This starting lineup needs to get into the game right from the word go. Very, very obvious comment, Dan, but we certainly don't need to start the way we've started in, 17 out of the last 19 games now?
No, conceding in the first minute of games, let alone first, has become all too familiar, hasn't it? You are right about the bench as well, actually, because there is some strength on that. Obviously, Trent makes a bit of an early return, actually, to the bench, doesn't he, which is positive. Seeing Curtis Jones back amongst it is really good as well. And Darwin Núñez, we've seen how influential he can be off the bench. Fabio Carvalho's had a good start. And obviously the skipper himself, Jordan Henderson, if required. But yeah, so 5 changes all in all. I make it from the Rangers game. Some bold calls. And just one final thing, I know I've said this before. Harvey Elliott, I tweeted earlier, deserves to stay in the side. Do you think so?
I agree. He's a front foot player. Do you know what I like about him? And it works well for everything we've spoken about. Is his first intention when he gets the ball is to look forward.
Yeah. And
you can't always say that of a Fabinho or a Henderson character who plays in the midfield. Yeah. So he's going to be looking for balls into Bobby's feet, which he relishes. Then I would imagine the ball will go back into midfield and set it for a third man running scenario. Yeah. Jota's going to be a willing runner trying to create chances, and Mo Salah's Mo Salah. So I think the link up between Elliott and Bobby is key. That will allow us to play on the front foot, and definitely before we go, Bobby will certainly be playing in the same space as Rodri, and I think that's critical. Yeah,
100%. He can, influence the game in both directions, I think, there, 100%. Can't he? Yeah, so really interesting, like I say. We'll be back in around about half an hour with the watch-along. Keep subscribing to our YouTube, the Redmen TV, because we are getting closer to that 500k 499, there it is on screen, 499923. So yeah, keep subscribing to that. Make sure you join us for the watch along in about half an hour. It'll be myself and Steve to work out what formation Liverpool are playing, and then we're going to be with you through thick and thin as Liverpool take on Manchester City. But yeah, that'll be all for now, and we'll see you then. Take care.
See you soon, guys. Get subscribing.
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that show. If you're looking to get yourself some amazing Liverpool merchandise, do go and check out redmenmerch.com. Just like this t-shirt I'm wearing and tons more. It's all available for you right now over on redmenmerch.com. Check it out.